There's also one more functionality that the PIX has by default. Since it's a layer 2 device, I have to make you understand the concept. If you remember it, I've taught this like 100 billion times now. What is the protocol number of TCP? What about UDP? OSPF? TCP 6, UDP 17, OSPF? EIGRP? Very nice. We have, if you remember, the OSI layer. Going back to the OSI layer, if you remember, we have layers. This is the application layer. I don't care about these two layers, right? Then we have the transport layer, network, data, and physical, right? Application layer if it's HTTP. Transport layer has a field, which is port number. Why do we have port number 80 on the transport layer if we know that the above protocol is HTTP? This is so that when the other guy is opening the layers, in layer 4 he knows what is the next header that I should accept. So he gets ready for the next header while he's reading transport layer. Similarly, in network, what is the field which does this? What is that field called? Protocol. There's a field called protocol which tells you what is the next transport header that I have, which can be either TCP, UDP, EIGRP, OSPF, GRE, ESP, AH, right? Because all these can be right next to network layer. If it's a layer 7 protocol, then it will be TCP, UDP. If it's anything else which is not layer 7, it will be either EIGRP, OSPF, GRE, ESP, AH. These are the ones which you know, right? Where is this information stored? In the protocol field. Then on the data, do you remember the field in the data? It's called EtherType field. It's an EtherType field. It tells you, it's a hexadecimal field which tells you what is the next protocol, which most predominantly is always, which tends to IPv4. It can also be, which is by default the transparent firewall lets these two go. There are, because when you give an IP address, if you give an IPv6 address, it will work as IPv6. If you work as IP address, it will work as IP. So these two will be allowed, right? But sometimes what happens is you are running, say something like between R2 and the R1, you'll be running a service like MPLS. Not on the transparent firewall, but between R1 and R2. In this case, it's not IP. This MPLS resides right between data and network. It's called layer 2.5. But it is still after data. So in the EtherType, there's a specific value for MPLS. At that time, it will not be IP. It won't be 866 if you're running MPLS or 800. It will be that value which corresponds to MPLS. You'll see what that value is just in a second. Right? That is not permitted by default through a transparent firewall. It's not allowed because transparent firewall does not run MPLS on its own. You have to specifically allow him to let this field go, to check this field and let this go. This can be done by something known as EtherType access list. EtherType access list works on the transparent firewall. Say R1 and R2 are running MPLS and I need to allow this through the PIX. How do I do this? Access list ETH, this name does not matter. What type? Before we go there, I want to show you the things. Doing it from the wrong one. I want to show you these protocol fields and where they reside. Yes? Right? Take any packet and take any field you want. TCP 23 means telnet, right? So you know what the above protocol is. In IP, the field is protocol. The value is TCP because the above protocol is TCP, right? How about Ethernet? You have, now it doesn't say EtherType here, but it's called EtherType. What is it right now? 0800 IPv4, right? 0866 means IPv6. This is the field that this access list matches on. EtherType, permit or deny? I want to permit. Who? MPLS. Either you're running unicast or you're running multicast. All of them have different, or maybe you have a new protocol which is running, and you remember and you know what the ether type is. You can also say 0x 0801 0802 depending upon the ether type list or that. Permit, right? Where do I apply this? In interface. How did this work? Does that mean I have two access lists per interface? I have two interface access lists. But until now, whatever we studied, does that mean all was wrong? That one interface, one access list, one direction only? Right now, I applied one direction, two access lists. It's only possible because these are two different types of access lists. One is a layer 2 access list, the other is a layer 3 access list. Otherwise, it's not possible. So in one direction, you can have two different types of access lists only if they are two different layers. This is an ether type. इसमें implicit deny होगा ना? Same. So you'll have to apply, when you apply this, you'll have to permit your IP also. Permit MPLS plus permit IP. Both. So in this, I would have to go in here, access list, ETH, ether type, permit, not IP, 0 cross 800. Allowed to go. What I'll do is, I've really never tried this implicit deny or not. I'll remove this. I want to try this. See, I've applied it already, right? It is permitting 802 right now, which means Baki Sara should be stopped. Let's try. I don't think IP ko block karta hai. I think IP is allowed by default. This is for the rest of the remaining protocols. Yeah, IP is allowed anyways. You can deny IP if you want. Let's try to deny IP. Access list, ETH, deny, ether deny, right? Show run access list. So it's permitting 802 and denying 800. Let's try now. So IP is denied. You understand? The Ethernet access list is denying. If you really want to see if this is the one who's denying it, remove it and check again. Right? Good. Return traffic is allowed by the connection entry. This is called EtherType access list. Also available on your 8.2, 8.4 both. Both work.